He rose at dawn and fired with hope, shot o'er the seething harbour bar. He reached the ship and caught the rope and whistled to the morning star. And while he whistled long and loud, he heard a fierce mermaiden cry.
Veteran explorer and conservationist Robin Hanbury-Tenison has embarked on a new challenge this morning. He's not navigating the Amazon, but rowing up the River Tamar. The 89-year-old is doing it to raise funds for Europe's first temperate rainforest research station in Cornwall.
He will always be an explorer, but he will also always be somebody who fights against the inevitability of aging. And so even though he turns 89 tomorrow, he is doing challenges that would be impressive in a man 20, 30 years younger.
When you're almost 90, if there are any bits of you left that still work, why not use them to raise a bit of money for charity? I started life as an explorer, and so I did a few expeditions back in the 50s and 60s. And back in the 70s, I led the biggest expedition, scientific expedition, ever mounted from Britain by the Royal Geographical Society, when I took 115 scientists deep into the heart of Borneo, and we spent 15 months studying the tropical rainforest, really for the first time properly in a multidisciplinary way, to work out how it worked and why it mattered. And we worked out how that incredibly rich environment could exist on what is effectively a desert. And then since then I've spent a good deal of my time campaigning to stop the destruction of the rainforests of Southeast Asia, Africa, and especially the Amazon. In the process, I met and was given huge hospitality by a lot of indigenous people, Indian tribes in Brazil, and tribal people in Southeast Asia, Africa, and elsewhere. I realized with some other people at that time that there was no organization that actually stood up for tribal people and said these are the people who understand nature better than we do, and who, with the demise of each tribe and each shaman, a whole library of information disappears.
Anywhere in the world where a new dam, a high-speed road, or a vast mining operation is planned, and the blueprints cover lands occupied for centuries by tribal people, then commerce comes before conscience, and the Indians are swept aside in the name of progress.
A group of us got together and started something which became Survival International, which has now become global and is doing amazing work all over the world.
Well, I grew up with an amazing father. So I spent a lot of my childhood following him around the world, often on expeditions into tropical rainforests. But home has always been here in the Kabila Valley. So my father started farming here in 1960, and I don't think back then anybody was really aware of the concept or the name of Atlantic temperate rainforest. He's always known that these were very special, ancient oak woodlands, and he protected them because of that. But it was only really in the sort of 2019, 2020 that people started to use the term Atlantic temperate rainforest for these habitats. And I think it's been so wonderful for them to begin to be rediscovered in this way.
Well, there's a wonderful irony in the fact that I've spent a great deal of my life in tropical rainforests. All the time, we had 100 acres here of temperate rainforest, which I'd never even heard of. And it's here as a remnant of the original temperate rainforest, which used to cover a fifth of England and Wales and Scotland, and which has now largely vanished. And now it is regarded as one of the most fragile and precious environments left in our country, and which is just as rich as tropical rainforest and much, much rarer.
Even though we've cut down 99% of this fragile and important habitat, there's still 1% of it left, and we can make sure it never goes any lower than that. So almost nothing in the UK sequesters carbon more effectively as a habitat that we can restore and replant than Atlantic temperate rainforest. We're also the most nature depleted country in Europe at the moment, and nothing brings back that biodiversity more effectively and more comprehensively than our Atlantic temperate rainforest. They're a wonderful biodiversity store. So we set the 1,000-Year Trust up about 2.5 years ago, which is Britain's only Atlantic temperate rainforest charity. And we're a research charity which is focused on facilitating and enabling the scientific research necessary to understand what it is that makes Atlantic temperate rainforest such a vital, precious and important habitat. We started with the 1,000-Year Project, which was our work here in the Kabila Valley, which was tripling the size of this rainforest. We've re-established about 100,000 trees. We brought back the beaver, an absolutely vital rainforest ecosystem engineer and keystone species, and we're working to bring back more of the lost species as well. But I think the most exciting reason why they're important is for the mental health and well-being effects on the humans who spend time amongst their canopy. So the effect for me is a very personal one. I had done about 8 years in the British Army and had done 3 tours in Afghanistan. On one of these tours I was blown up in a roadside bomb, and this had begun to return to me, and I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. And I was going through the traditional clinical healing process, but I was also spending every available minute I had down in this valley, hugely benefiting from being able to spend time in this forest while I was recovering and learning about my condition and learning how to manage it. And I wanted to share that with as many other people as possible and bring as many other veterans and people suffering from poor mental health into this valley. But we also really wanted to make sure we did it in a way that didn't degrade and denude the habitat, so that humans could heal, but nature could also heal. And so I believe that the most important thing we can do in order to not only fall in love with our rainforests and remember what a big part of our culture they are, but also to protect and restore them, is to properly scientifically study them. And that's why we're building here in the Kabila Valley Europe's first Atlantic temperate rainforest research field station, a place where scientists, academics, researchers, professors, and volunteers and members of the community will be able to come together and do proper multi-year restoration and research work on this habitat.
There is an extraordinary synergy with my own life in that the expedition that I ran in the 70s was the first scientific study of a tropical rainforest to work out how it worked and why it mattered. And you know, that's what this research station is going to be doing for temperate rainforests.
When my father turned 80, he did 8 great challenges to celebrate that momentous year. He ran his first ever marathon, climbed the 4 highest peaks in the British Isles, did his first ever skydive, caved to the deepest cave system in the UK, and water skied the English Channel. And then in 2020, my father got very bad COVID, was spent 7 weeks sedated in Derriford Hospital in Plymouth, and we were told that he was almost certainly going to die and that we had to make our peace with that. Then when he recovered, he was 84, and he climbed the highest point in Cornwall as part of his recovery, Brown Willie, and raised £150,000 to build a healing garden in Trelisk Hospital in Truro.
And now I'm about to enter my 9th decade, and as I haven't got many bits of me left that really work, legs aren't up to climbing up mountains or running marathons, but the arms are working, and so I intend rowing the equivalent of the width of the English Channel, 22 miles. And I'm doing this to raise money for the 1,000-Year Trust and the restoration of temperate rainforests. I will always be an explorer, can't stop really.
Think and sit. Oh. Right, now I'm down. And away we go.
An explorer from Cornwall is marking his 89th birthday by rowing 22 miles up and down the Tamar. Robin Hanbury-Tenison already climbed Cornwall's highest peak 5 months after surviving coronavirus.
Well, now he hopes his latest challenge will raise £200,000 for a temperate rainforest restoration project, including at his own farm on Bodmin Moor.
He started in Saltash this morning, flanked by a support team, and headed for Calstock.
Good music. Can you hear it? Carmen.
It is a big challenge, and he is at quite an advanced age. but he's also extremely determined.
Luella has absolutely been my rock throughout all this, sending me up to my rowing machine and making me do it when I really said it wasn't necessary. No, jolly well go and do another half hour, and encouraging me and believing in me, which is all you need really to get on and do things. Legacies are very important to people, all of us, and obviously as one's getting very old and near the end, one thinks more about it. People are beginning to recognize the importance of wilderness and of our association with nature, being able to get into nature, to immerse ourselves in it. And my hope is that we will create many more spaces that people can enjoy real nature in and absorb it.
My father and I like to joke that he spent his life as a tropical rainforest explorer, and I'm getting to spend my life as a temperate rainforest restorer. And we have this wonderful sort of juxtaposition. We've always been very, very close, and I feel hugely lucky to have been able to travel with him a lot. And since he's entered into a later stage of his life, to spend more time within this rainforest habitat in Cornwall and to start to understand how much of the knowledge that he has learned in tropical rainforest environments can be used for the restoration of Atlantic temperate rainforest environments.
It swept me along, having a flotilla of friends in kayaks escorting me, and having the magic of the Cotillo gig coming out, who all stopped rowing and sang Happy Birthday. I mean, it brought a tear to my eye and made it all wonderful. And seeing all the people on the bank waving at me and cheering me on, wishing me happy birthday, singing happy birthday, it's just been such fun. My God, we're almost there.
I'm so proud of him, and at 89 doing anything is no mean feat, and this was a hell of a long way, and he rode like a champion.
Whoa! Well done. Well done.
Unsteady.
Fantastic.
Where's my trusty stick?
He's done brilliantly. Absolutely brilliantly. It's unbelievable. There were times when I thought this would not be possible.
It's been months of planning, and of course I worry as Robin's wife that he might have cramp or a heart attack or something, but he's so mentally strong.
Oh, tremendous. Yeah, huge effort. Happy and cheerful all the way, reciting poetry, singing along, listening to Classic FM.
Throughout his whole career, he's raised awareness for tropical rainforests and the people who live within them, and now he's raising awareness for our Cornish temperate rainforest. It's wonderful. My father is my role model and my hero and all the things that he's achieved in his life. And I hope that I can emulate some of the work that he has done and to try and bring awareness to how important these ecosystems and the fight to restore them are.
And Cabilla is just a microcosm of what we should be doing, not just in Britain with restoring the temperate rainforests of England, Wales and Scotland, but all over the world. And it is beginning to happen, and maybe it'll happen in time to save the planet from running out of breath.